Hello and welcome to this mini lesson from inside the PE portal. Today we are looking at sedentary living. What is it, what causes it, what are the effects of it, and what are some of the solutions? So to start with, sedentary living. What is it? Well, it's not necessarily a life without sport. Sedentary living it's a lifestyle choice without exertion. So it's living without exertion. It's not living without sport, it's living without exertion. So it's a lack of physical activity, lack of PA in day-to-day living. So it's a culmination of movement choices. And I'll elaborate on what that means in a moment. So sedentary living, it's living without exertion. It's a lack of physical activity. It's not a lack of sport. It's a culmination of movement choices, or I should say here, negative movement choices or poor movement choices. Choices which avoid movement, we could say. So we know what it is. What might cause this? Well, it could be, if I just put here causes, it could be work. It could be mode of transport. It could be a person's hobbies. Because if someone is working and they are sat behind a desk, instead of being up and moving, picking things up, putting things down, then obviously they're going to be expending less energy. I'm going to talk about energy balance in a moment. Transport. How do they get from point A to point B? Do they walk there? Do they run there? Do they get the bus there? Do they carry things with them? Do they drive there? Do they car share? Do they get a helicopter? Lots of different ways of transporting yourself and your belongings around the place. And that, or those, I should say, your modes of transport, they are all choices. And if you choose to move less when you transport yourself, then obviously that is going to contribute to a more sedentary lifestyle. Hobbies. Are you active when you move? No, not active when you move. Are you active when you play, I should say? So in your downtime, in your free time, what are a person's choices? Are they sitting down and reading? Nothing wrong with reading, but they're choosing to not move if they're sat down and reading a book. Or are their hobbies sport? So we could put here sport. So, how do people choose to spend their free time? Are they involved with sport? How do they move around the place? What do they do for the majority of hours of the day? Could also say, how much do they sleep? If someone is sleeping more hours in a day, great, they might feel rested, but if they sleep in for 3 extra hours, it's 3 hours that they're not moving. Therefore, they're choosing to not move and they're choosing to stay in bed. And gradually, over time, this culmination of poor movement choices leads to a general lack of physical activity and an overall lifestyle without exertion. Therefore, we can say that they are leading a sedentary lifestyle. So what are some of the effects? Well, first of all, it could be weight gain. I mentioned something here earlier called energy balance. These causes, these all link to your energy in. These all link to your energy out, I should say. Work, how much energy are you expending? Transport, how much energy are you expending? Hobbies, sports, sleep, what's your energy output on a day-to-day? If I just draw you a quick diagram, set of scales, if the amount we consume is greater, is heavier, there's more of it than the amount that we expend, then we are going to gain weight. We're going to store this excess energy in as fat around our body. The impacts of that could be diabetes. Our body becomes less able, less equipped to actually deal with the blood sugar inside of our body. It's constantly being in or worked in overdrive to deal with the amount of blood sugar that we might be getting from our overconsumption. So it could be the foods that we eat, the consumption. And if we're not expending it because we're not moving, anything that we do consume stays in our body. And that's gradually going to build up and up and up and up and up until we can't cope anymore and our body starts to fail us. That's where we might need medicinal intervention. Hypertension. Whereby the blood vessels inside of our body become clogged with the food and the fats and the cholesterol that we're not disposing of in our daily activity. It might start to build up, it might start to line the insides of our wall, arteriosclerosis. As a result, there's less space for the blood to be. Therefore, less space, same volume, higher pressure. And that higher pressure is going to put undue strain on our heart, leading to a higher chance of coronary heart diseases or cardiovascular diseases. Weights, diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart disease. Then we could go down the route of the mental effects. People are going to be feeling tired, lethargic. They might have maybe a bout of depression or lowering self-confidence and esteem. If they're seeing their body gradually get slower, heavier, less effective and responsive to their environment, then they're going to start to feel a little bit down about how their body feels and looks. The overall one here is just general performance. So in the context of sport, a sedentary lifestyle does not support good quality sport performance. The muscles might start to atrophy or waste away. The cardiovascular abilities of getting oxygen in, transporting it around the body, they're all becoming limited. The muscles might seize up because they're not used to being stretched and moved through their full range of movement. So some causes, some effects. There's definitely things that we want to avoid. What then are some of these solutions? Well, first of all, I need to say that solutions should be gradual, almost habitual. We're talking about changing someone's choices. So it should be lifestyle orientated. Things that they can do on a day-to-day basis. So it might be simple swaps. Such as walk to work, don't drive to work, if possible. If you do drive or you do get the bus, park or get off the bus a little bit sooner. Incorporate a 5-minute walk between where you stop and where you need to be. Don't drive right to the door. If you are driving home, park up, walk for 5 minutes, back to your car, and then drive the car back. TV versus walk outside. It could be a walking meeting instead of a sitting meeting. Or a walk and talk opposed to a sit and talk, or a coffee and a catch-up. Go for a walk and talk. Perhaps get a pet or a dog and take the dog for a walk. Pick up some form of physical activity. Not something which is grueling and intense and you don't know much about. Start small. Start with a lifestyle activity, like walking. Perhaps if you have children, take them and get involved with their sport, because then you might be a little bit more active. Can you change your work environment so that you have a standing office or a standing desk instead of a sitting desk? But it all comes down to this, the movement choices that people make, so that instead of the lack of movement culminating in these negatives, the increased movement culminates in benefits, lowering coronary heart disease risk, lowering the risk of mental illness, improving our self-esteem, reducing hypertension, reducing our body composition in terms of fat mass and weight gain, improving the components of fitness so that we become better at a sport. So, sedentary living. It's a life without exertion. It's a lack of physical activity brought about by some negative movement choices from our work, transport, hobbies, the sports that we pursue, how much we sleep, how much we consume. It can cause a whole host of bad things. How do we solve it? We do it gradually. We add in some better habits around our life, not just one big solid week of movement. No, focus on the lifestyle and focus on the swaps. Take out where you're not moving and try and substitute it for something where you're moving a little bit more. And that is that. So I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Bye for now.